What if I told you that a simple Washington quarter, yes, just 25 cents, could be hiding a value so shocking that people online claim it's worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars? Sounds unbelievable, right? But these rumors have been spreading fast, and today, we're putting them to the test. In this video, I'm revealing 5 Washington quarters that collectors constantly talk about. Coins that look ordinary, yet are surrounded by insane value claims and heated debates. Some of these quarters are common, some are misunderstood, and one might completely change the way you look at your spare change forever. We'll break them down one by one, uncover their history, examine their real market value, and finally separate fact from fiction when it comes to those million-dollar stories you keep hearing online. But here's the thing, you don't want to skip ahead. The truth behind these coins only makes sense when you see the full picture. One small detail, one tiny difference, can mean the difference between pocket change and a serious collector find. So stay with me till the very end, because by the time we reach the last quarter, you'll know exactly what to look for, and whether those million-dollar rumors are real, or just another internet myth. Let's start with our first coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers about a Washington quarter being worth millions of dollars, a simple silver-colored coin that looks ordinary at first glance, yet is rumored online to be a hidden jackpot waiting to be discovered. Social media posts, clickbait videos, and comment sections are filled with dramatic claims of people finding a single quarter in their pocket and suddenly holding a fortune. Today, we're starting this journey with the 1996 D Washington quarter, a coin many people overlook every single day. Before you assume it's just another common coin, or before you start imagining a life-changing payday, watch till the very end, because the truth behind these million-dollar rumors is fascinating, surprising, and far more nuanced than most people realize. The Washington quarter has a long and meaningful history. First introduced in 1932, the coin was originally meant to be a one-year commemorative issue celebrating the 200th birthday of George Washington. However, the design was so well received that it became permanent, replacing the standing Liberty quarter. The obverse features a strong left-facing portrait of Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. Above his head is the word Liberty, while "I in God We Trust" appears beside his neck. On your 1996 D quarter, the date is clearly visible at the bottom, and just to the right of Washington's ponytail sits the D mint mark, indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint. Turn the coin over, and you're greeted by the iconic eagle reverse, one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. The eagle stands proud with wings spread wide, clutching arrows to symbolize strength and readiness, while olive branches represent peace. Surrounding the eagle are the inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar. This reverse design was used from 1932 until 1998, making your 1996 D one of the final issues before the historic state quarters program changed the look of U.S. coins forever. That alone gives it a special place in American coin history. Now let's get into value, but slowly, because this is where most rumors begin. The 1996 D Washington quarter was minted in extremely large numbers, with hundreds of millions produced. Because of this, most examples are considered common. If your coin has been in circulation, passed through countless hands, registers, and pockets, it usually carries a value of 25 cents to about 50 cents. Coins that remain bright, sharp, and mostly untouched can be worth $1 to $3, especially if they still retain strong detail and luster. Collectors pay special attention to coins in mint state condition, meaning the coin shows no signs of wear. When professionally graded by companies like PCGS or NGC, high-grade examples of the 1996 D quarter can sell for $50, $100, or even several $100s. These prices aren't about age, they're about perfection. Only a tiny fraction of coins survive in such flawless condition, and competition among collectors drives those prices upward. But the real excitement begins when we talk about errors. This is where values can jump dramatically. A 1996 D Washington quarter with a genuine mint error is no longer just spare change, it becomes a collector's hunt item. Errors like off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing, double die errors, where lettering or details appear doubled, broad strikes, where the coin spreads beyond its normal shape, or wrong planchet errors, where the quarter is struck on the wrong metal, can push values into the hundreds or thousands of dollars. These are rare, visually dramatic, and highly desirable. And this is exactly where the million-dollar stories are born. People hear about rare coins selling for insane amounts of money and assume the same must apply here. But now it's time for the honest truth. Despite countless claims online, there is no confirmed case of a standard 1996 D Washington quarter selling for millions of dollars. Not in auctions, not in private sales, not anywhere in the documented coin-collecting world. The viral rumors often combine real facts, like high-value error coins, with exaggeration or outright misinformation. Coins that truly sell for millions are usually extremely old, historically significant, or unique in existence. Think early American coins from the 1700s, famous minting mistakes, or rare gold pieces with deep historical importance. A modern quarter, even a Denver-minted one from 1996, simply doesn't fall into that category. However, and this is important, that doesn't mean this coin is worthless. The real value lies in knowledge. Understanding condition, spotting errors, and knowing what collectors truly pay separates casual pocket change from real collectible value. A single detail, one unusual strike, or a perfectly preserved surface can still turn this quarter into a prized find. And remember, this is just the first quarter in your collection. Some of the others may carry bigger surprises, stronger rumors, or even more exciting realities. So don't go anywhere. The next Washington quarter might just change everything you think you know about your spare change. Let's move on our second coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers about a Washington quarter being worth millions of dollars, a coin so ordinary looking that people unknowingly spend it every day, while others swear it's a hidden treasure disguised as pocket change. The internet is packed with bold claims about quarters from the 1970s turning collectors into overnight millionaires. Today, we move on to the 1970 D Washington quarter, a coin surrounded by confusion, excitement, and some very exaggerated stories. Before you jump to conclusions or dismiss it as just another old coin, stay with me till the very end, because understanding this quarter properly is the key to separating real value from viral myths. The 1970 D Washington quarter comes from a fascinating transition period in U.S. coinage history. By 1970, quarters were no longer made of silver for circulation. That change happened in 1965, when rising silver prices forced the U.S. Mint to switch to a copper-nickel-clad composition. So despite looking similar to older silver quarters, this coin is made of a copper core sandwiched between nickel layers. On the front, you see George Washington's familiar left-facing portrait, with Liberty boldly across the top and I in God We Trust placed near his neck. The date 1970 rests at the bottom, and the D mint mark tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint. Flip the coin over, and once again we see the powerful eagle reverse, a design that symbolized American strength for decades. The eagle's outstretched wings, the arrows, and the olive branches reflect a nation balancing military readiness with peace. Surrounding the design are United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar. This design remained unchanged for years, meaning millions of Americans handled coins that looked almost exactly like this one, day after day, without ever giving them a second thought. Now let's talk about value, but carefully. The 1970 D Washington quarter was minted in very large quantities, with hundreds of millions produced. Because of this, most examples found today are considered common. In circulated condition, these quarters typically sell for 25 cents to around 75 cents, depending on where. Coins that are cleaner, brighter, and show minimal handling can be worth $1 to $3, especially if they still have decent original luster. In uncirculated condition, the story improves. High-grade 1970 D quarters that look nearly perfect can sell for $10 to $50, and in exceptional, professionally graded mint state condition, some have reached $100 or more. These higher prices aren't about age, they're about rarity of condition. Most coins from this era were heavily used, so flawless survivors are surprisingly scarce. Now here's where excitement starts to build. The real money potential of a 1970 D quarter lies in errors and unusual varieties. Coins with off-center strikes, double die details, clipped planchets, or broad strikes can dramatically increase in value. Depending on the severity and visibility of the error, these quarters have sold for hundreds to several $1,000s. And yes, this is exactly where people begin whispering about unbelievable prices. But before we address the million-dollar rumor, there's one more thing collectors often misunderstand. Some people assume any quarter from around 1970 might secretly be silver. In reality, circulation 1970 D quarters are not silver. However, there were 1970 dated silver-proof quarters, struck in 40% silver, but these were made exclusively for collector proof sets and not for circulation. Finding one in everyday change would be extremely unlikely, but that possibility fuels many of the myths. Now let's address the big question, the million-dollar rumor. Here's the honest truth. There is no verified case of a standard 1970 Washington quarter selling for millions of dollars. None. Those viral stories usually twist real information about rare silver proofs, dramatic mint errors, or entirely different coins. While some quarters have sold for staggering amounts, they are typically unique historical pieces or once-in-a-lifetime errors, not mass-produced Denver quarters from 1970. Still, that doesn't mean this coin should be ignored. The value of the 1970 quarter lies in knowledge, condition, and details. A single mistake during minting, or an exceptionally well-preserved example, can turn this coin into a serious collector item. It may not buy you a mansion, but it could absolutely surprise you. And remember, this is only the second quarter in your lineup. The next one carries its own rumors, its own surprises, and its own reality check. So don't stop now, because the story behind the next Washington quarter might be even more shocking than this one. Let's move on our third coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers about a Washington quarter being worth millions of dollars, a forgotten coin hiding in plain sight, quietly sitting in drawers and old jars while the internet insists it could be a life-changing discovery. Among these stories, the 1986 Washington quarter often gets pulled into the hype, with people claiming certain Philadelphia minted quarters are rare, secret, or somehow mispriced by the world. Before you assume it's just another everyday coin, or before you start imagining a massive payday, watch till the very end, because the truth behind this quarter is far more interesting than the rumors surrounding it. The 1986 Washington quarter comes from the Philadelphia Mint, which is indicated by the P mint mark, a detail that didn't even exist on Philadelphia quarters before 1980. That alone makes this era unique in U.S. coin history. By 1986, the Washington quarter had already been part of American life for more than half a century. The obverse still features John Flanagan classic portrait of George Washington, calm yet powerful, with liberty arching across the top and "I in God we trust" positioned beside his profile. The date 1986 appears at the bottom, grounding the coin firmly in the mid-1980s. Turn the coin over and you'll see the familiar eagle reverse, a design that symbolized continuity and tradition for decades. The eagle's wings are spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches, strength balanced by peace. Surrounding the design are United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar. This design remained unchanged until 1998, meaning your 1986 P quarter is part of the final stretch of this iconic reverse before the state quarters era reshaped modern U.S. coinage. Now let's talk value, but step by step. The 1986 P Washington quarter was produced in very large numbers, with hundreds of millions minted for circulation. Because of that, most examples found today are considered common. In circulated condition, these coins typically trade for face value to about 50 cents. Even though they're decades old, age alone doesn't drive value, condition does. In uncirculated condition, things become more interesting. Many quarters from the mid-1980s were heavily used, so clean, sharp examples with strong luster are not as common as you might think. Well-preserved uncirculated 1986 P quarters can sell for $1 to $5, and higher-grade examples, professionally certified, have reached $20 to $100 or more. These prices reflect scarcity of condition, not rarity of the coin itself. Now here's where collector excitement really starts to grow. The 1980s are known for some surprisingly dramatic mint errors, and the 1986 P quarter is no exception. Coins with double die obverse, where lettering like Liberty or "I in God we trust" appears doubled, are highly desirable. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, and other striking errors can push the value into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on how severe and visible the error is. These are the coins that collectors actively hunt for. But before we address the million-dollar rumors, there's another important factor: strike quality. Philadelphia quarters from this era are notorious for weak strikes, meaning details like Washington's hair or the eagle's feathers can appear flat. Coins with unusually strong, sharp strikes stand out and can command premiums over average examples. Now let's confront the big question, the million-dollar claim. Here's the honest truth. There is no confirmed case of a standard 1986 P Washington quarter selling for millions of dollars. Not in major auctions, not in private collections, not anywhere in documented numismatic history. The rumors usually stem from misunderstandings, exaggerated error values, or completely unrelated coins being mislabeled online. Coins that sell for millions are typically extremely rare, historically significant, or one-of-a-kind errors. While a 1986 P quarter can absolutely be valuable in the right condition or with the right error, it does not fall into the category of known million-dollar coins. Still, that doesn't mean this quarter lacks excitement. The real thrill lies in knowing exactly what to look for: condition, strike quality, and minting mistakes. A single detail can turn an ordinary-looking quarter into a serious collector piece. And remember, this is only the third coin in your lineup. The next Washington quarter carries its own legends, its own mysteries, and its own surprises. So stay right here, because the next reveal might just be the one everyone underestimates. Let's move on our fourth coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers about a Washington quarter being worth millions of dollars, a quiet, unassuming coin that most people would casually spend without a second thought, while online rumors insist it could secretly be a hidden fortune. Social media posts, viral videos, and dramatic comments claim that certain quarters from the late 20th century are sleepers, waiting to be discovered by the right person at the right time. Today, we're taking a deep dive into one of the most commonly misunderstood of them all, the 1980 D Washington quarter. Before you brush it off as just another old coin, or start believing the hype, watch till the very end, because the truth behind its value is layered, detailed, and far more interesting than the headlines suggest. The 1980 D Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark located just to the right of George Washington's ponytail on the obverse. By 1980, the Washington quarter design had already been in continuous use for nearly 5 decades, making it one of the most familiar coins in American history. The obverse features John Flanagan's dignified portrait of Washington, with liberty boldly arched across the top and "I in God we trust" neatly placed beside his profile. The date 1980 sits at the bottom, anchoring the coin in a period of heavy economic activity and intense coin circulation. When you flip the coin over, you see the iconic eagle reverse, a design that defined the Washington quarter for generations. The eagle's wings are fully spread, symbolizing national strength and readiness, while the arrows and olive branches represent the balance between defense and peace. Surrounding the eagle are United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar. By the time this coin was struck, this reverse design was nearing the end of its long run, just 18 years away from being replaced by the state quarters program. That alone gives the 1980 D a quiet historical significance. It belongs to the closing chapter of a classic American coin design. Now let's move carefully into value, because this is where confusion often begins. The 1980 D Washington quarter was produced in massive quantities. Hundreds of millions were struck to meet the needs of everyday commerce. As a result, most examples found today are considered common. In circulated condition, these quarters usually trade for face value to around 50 cents. Heavy wear, surface scratches, and dullness are expected, because these coins were used extensively in vending machines, cash registers, and everyday transactions. However, condition changes everything. In uncirculated condition, the value begins to climb. Coins that were pulled from rolls early or stored carefully can still show strong mint luster, crisp lettering, and sharp detail. These examples typically sell for $1 to $5, depending on eye appeal. When you move into professionally graded territory, coins certified in high mint state grades, the price can rise to $20, $50, or even over $100. These values exist because truly flawless coins from this era are far scarcer than people realize. Now we arrive at the heart of collector excitement: mint errors. This is where the 1980 D quarter can suddenly transform from everyday change into a serious collectible. Errors such as off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing, broad strikes, where the coin spreads beyond its normal edge, clipped planchets, where a piece of the metal is missing, and double die errors, where details like lettering appear doubled, can dramatically increase value. Depending on how bold and visible the error is, these coins have sold for hundreds to several $1,000s. These are legitimate, documented sales, and they're the foundation of many of the stories you hear online. Another often overlooked factor is strike quality. Many Denver Mint quarters from the late 1970s and early 1980s are known for weak strikes. Washington's hair details and the eagle's feathers can appear flat or mushy. Coins that show unusually strong detail stand out immediately to collectors and can command premiums even without obvious errors. This subtle detail separates average coins from desirable ones. Now it's time to confront the most dramatic claim of all, the million-dollar rumor. Here's the honest, documented reality. There is no confirmed case of a standard 1980 Washington quarter selling for millions of dollars. Not in major auction houses, not in private collections, and not in any credible numismatic record. These rumors usually stem from a mix of misunderstood error values, unrelated high-value coins, and exaggerated online storytelling designed to attract attention. Coins that truly sell for millions are almost always extremely rare, historically significant, or unique in existence, often dating back to the 1700s or 1800s, or representing one-of-a-kind minting mistakes. A mass-produced quarter from 1980, even in excellent condition, simply does not fall into that category. Still, that doesn't mean the 1980 Washington quarter should be ignored. Its real value lies in knowledge, condition, and careful inspection. Understanding what makes a coin special, and what doesn't, turns casual curiosity into real collecting skill. A single error, an unusually sharp strike, or an exceptional grade can still turn this coin into a valuable and exciting find. And remember, this is not the end of the story. One more Washington quarter remains in your collection, and its reputation is surrounded by just as many rumors and misunderstandings. Stay with me, because the final quarter may be the one that surprises people the most, and finally separates myth from reality. Let's move on our fifth coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers about a Washington quarter being worth millions of dollars, an old-looking coin that people claim is a hidden treasure, quietly sitting in collections, drawers, or even loose change. The internet is full of dramatic stories about quarters from the 1970s suddenly selling for unbelievable amounts of money, and the 1974 Washington quarter is often pulled into those rumors. Before you assume it's either worthless or a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot, stay with me till the very end, because the real story behind this coin's value is far more detailed, realistic, and fascinating than the headlines suggest. The 1974 Washington quarter comes from a period when U.S. coinage was fully transitioned away from silver. Since 1965, quarters were struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition, meaning this coin contains no silver despite its appearance. On the obverse, we see John Flanagan timeless portrait of George Washington, facing left, with liberty across the top and I in God we trust placed beside his neck. The date 1974 appears clearly at the bottom. Unlike some of your other quarters, this one has no mint mark, which tells us it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Turning the coin over, the familiar eagle reverse immediately stands out. The eagle spreads its wings wide, holding arrows and olive branches, symbolizing strength and peace. Surrounding the design are the inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, and $quarter. By 1974, this design had already been in use for over 40 years, making it one of the most recognizable coin reverses in American history. Millions of Americans handled coins just like this one every single day. Now let's slowly step into the value discussion, because this is where most confusion begins. The 1974 Washington quarter was minted in extremely large numbers. Because of this, the vast majority of examples found today are considered common. In circulated condition, these quarters are typically worth face value to about 50 cents. Heavy wear, dull surfaces, and small scratches are normal and expected for coins from this era. In uncirculated condition, however, the value increases. Clean examples with strong luster and sharp details can sell for $1 to $5. When you move into professionally graded territory, coins certified in high mint state grades, the price can climb significantly. Some top-quality 1974 quarters have sold for $20, $50, or even over $100, purely because finding a truly flawless example is much harder than people think. Now let's talk about where excitement really builds: mint errors and special varieties. The 1974 Washington quarter is known to exist with a variety of errors that can dramatically boost value. Off-center strikes, double die errors, clipped planchets, and broad strikes are all possibilities collectors actively search for. Depending on how strong and visible the error is, these coins have sold for hundreds to several $1,000s. These are real, documented sales, and they're the reason people keep searching through old change. Another factor that fuels rumors is the misunderstanding around silver content. Some people believe any older quarter must contain silver, But that simply isn't true. Only quarters dated 1964 and earlier are 90% silver. The 1974 quarter contains no silver at all, and that reality alone debunks many exaggerated value claims. Now it's time to address the big question, the million-dollar rumors. Here's the honest truth. There is no confirmed case of a standard 1974 Washington quarter selling for millions of dollars. Not at major auctions, not in private collections, and not anywhere in credible numismatic records. Those viral stories usually mix real high-value coin sales with misinformation, misidentified coins, or pure exaggeration designed to grab attention. Coins that truly reach million-dollar prices are usually extremely rare, historically important, or one-of-a-kind minting errors, often dating back to the earliest days of the United States. A mass-produced quarter from 1974, even in excellent condition, simply does not fit that category. Still, the 1974 Washington quarter is far from boring. Its real value lies in condition, errors, and understanding what collectors actually pay for. Knowing how to separate myth from reality gives you the upper hand, and that's what real collecting is all about. And with that, you've now seen the full picture across all 5 Washington quarters. Each one carries rumors, history, and its own truth. The real treasure isn't a million-dollar myth, it's the knowledge that lets you spot real value when it truly appears.